Wait for it. We're live.
Evening, everybody. Hello. I'm your friend and neighbour host, Trey Harrison, with us for the episode 282 live show recording, which is strange to say, given that we...
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We normally stream these live, but only on our Discord server, but because the last 7 days have been so ridiculous, King suggested we do this one live on YouTube. Good idea! I agree. So here we are. In case you didn't know already, I'm Trey Harrison. That's RJ O'Connell, Ryan Eric King, and Cam Buckley down below. Hope you can join us. This is quite the time here. You may recognise us from other places such as Twitter. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy us. Again, if you like it here already or like the cut of our jib over the course of the show, get down there and hit the subscribe button. All of our episodes that we record on video will be uploaded up on this platform as well. If you like your podcasts in video form as opposed to audio form, you can check us out here. If not, you can find us pretty much where all podcasts are available these days: SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, etc., all that good stuff. So check us out there if you haven't already. This is a little bit of a pre-show. We're not actually recording the episode just yet, not for another few minutes or so. But say hi if you're in the chat. You might have time for a couple of quick questions before we get started. Maybe half past we'll get going. But keep us posted on whatnot. We'll try and get some comments in during the episode recording in there as well. It's a little bit loose, shall we say?
We like to cut loose on this program. It's great.
Oh, never. We are deeply structured on this show.
We're a very serious podcast.
Well, we're going to be serious here for like 5 minutes, and then we'll be into our usual plethora of jokes and criticism.
Yeah, we have to create the illusion of professionalism.
No, it's not. It's not about being professional nowadays. All you need is just have the hottest take imaginable, and you'll control the news cycle on Twitter. That's how it works.
Yep.
Yeah, just say the sports shit or something. It's pretty boring. That always goes down well. We love that on this show. You get likes out the wazoo. It's crazy.
I love making bad faith internet arguments all the time. It's wonderful.
At this point, it's all I do.
Indeed. Shout out to Aaron in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Shout out to A. Rainey. Thanks for the live stream, man. Thanks for joining us, my man. Appreciate it.
If you like what we do, and you feel like your opinion matters more than ours, which, to be honest, most of the time it does, we're having an award show in a few weeks. So we got categories which you can nominate people, things, places, organizations.
RJ, what are these places of which you speak? Is that something from the before time?
Yes, it's from the before time. Back when Cats was the #1 movie in America.
That was, man, dark times.
Dark times indeed. But yes, that's our man Jason Poland in the chat right now. You can follow him on Twitter at Jason_Poland_87. Look up the Shuckle avatar, you can't miss it. He's in charge of the award nominations process. We'll be sending ours in the next couple of weeks. But yes, I think if my maths is about right, it'll be the week before Christmas we record the award show. So you've got about another couple of weeks, maybe 3, before we actually have the award show. I'll give you full details on that and our social media a little bit nearer the time. But send them in to Jason. He's got the full spreadsheet as a pin tweet on his profile. So follow him on there. Tell him we said hi, and you can send in your nominations for the M101 Awards. Where in this place, it's the one time M101 is actually a democracy, which is always fun. And every vote, I promise, will be counted.
And plus, if you play your cards right, we might even do a live show where we react to the Autosport Top 50.
Oh, God.
Which is our other wonderful tradition.
I don't know if my poor old heart can handle that.
I'm doing my response to the Jose Mourinho meme. It's like, But yeah, that like if it's anything like last year, you might see me jump out of my window, which is right there, live on the YouTube.
That's the second-story window, folks. We love the people.
I'm just saying it's extremely convenient.
We only tear into the Autosport top 50 because we love our fine friends at Autosport, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we love them.
To be fair, putting together a list of the 50 greatest motorsport athletes in four wheels only is always going to cause controversy. Thankfully, on this program, we never say anything that may be controversial or out of line. If you have any complaints, please send them to Twitter at our handle, cbuckley917.
Whoa, where'd you two?
You can blur them out. It's cool.
Oh Lord!
At least I'm not asking everybody to tag Lewis this time.
Look, my DMs are already a dry wasteland. They don't need traders.
It's like that already. Since the chat saying deadline. Jason pointed out chat deadline for the M1 Awards is the 15th of December. So you got 12
That's the day before my birthday.
Hey! So yeah, 15th is the deadline for that. Shout outs in the chat to Vic, who's in there moderating for us right now. Joe McMillan, good to see you, buddy. Probably be released just before the start of the new season. Again, you're probably right there, Joe. But that's besides the point. Okay, we got King on a hamster wheel. We're going to edit these nice and quick. I promise. Maybe.
Oh Lord!
Sportology saying, "Quick, Dre's losing power. Viva Revolution." Thanks a bunch. Also, the roasting keeps on going. It's like Philly Hood saying, "Good evening, all from the town Dre's ex came from in Nottingham." Yes. I have family in Nottingham, and yes, I'm from there. That is a undetected bit of savage, but I'll allow it on this occasion. I'm in a good mood today. Very funny, but yes, we are just about ready to go live. And whatnot. But also, Jason say that Cam with the willpower salute there, which was quite funny. Academics department is ready to respond of all issues.
Look, you may just get a stock. If you send them to my DMs, you may just get a response of a stock photo of Michael Jordan overlaid with my favorite Michael Jordan inspirational quote. Fuck them kids.
If you have facts about a violation, please send it to compliance@motorsport101.com. If not, please do not slander these young men or insult their family.
Yes, we here at Motorsport 101 take these accusations seriously, and I will investigate them and prosecute them to the full extent that Drake allows me to before I get disconnected from the call.
You're watching too much Law and Order lately.
Really? I mean, as if our Instagram, as if we didn't.
King is out here acting like he is the law.
Judge Dredd
King,
joined the
I'm happy
Discord.
for your sake. You didn't take a sip of that before I said that.
I know.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Lovely. I like that King's still defers to me on these occasions. That's very kind of him. To which I normally just say, throw the banhammer at it and then make it go away. Although he does have the keys to the Discord server, which I am still concerned about. But you know, they're sitting here watching sailing this past weekend.
Hey,
Sailing,
I'll have you know, Sail GP is the pinnacle of wind sport.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, even more than Portimao was earlier this season.
Oh God! Or Le Mans, 1999.
Oh no! But that's how we roll around here. But also Vic in the chat saying, MJ says this quote every time Cam goes to buy a pair of his trainers.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell, if you're not a member of the M101 Discord, and if you're not already, bless you, you're very fortunate. But if you're not, you may know that a lot of us love sneakers. Fine, luxurious, stylish, very expensive sneakers.
Sorry, I just got a visit from from my terrier Nigel. You may remember him if you've tuned into the Day of Classics this year. Only it wasn't really the Day of Classics because it was only the Indy 500.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and generous news for you guys listening on YouTube. I may or may not have just put the link to the Discord server in the chat for infinite uses for the next hour.
Oh god, get the pan hammer, get the pan hammer, get the pan hammer!
Yeah, we're banning ourselves.
Oh man, that means I get to rule the household!
All of this is bad. These are all bad ideas. But, yeah, there is an invite there. Behave yourselves if you're going to be in there. But,
if you don't, I get to hit you with the thought obliterator.
Yes. I thought King very generously did this the last time we did a live show. I thought I would take up the mantle this time. Only there.
Do we regret doing that? It's been so long that I don't even remember if we...
No, it's honestly, it's great that the community is growing. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what we do, tell your friends about it. If their friends are into motorsport. If your friends aren't into motorsport, hey, I'm sure we'll go off on a tangent that's not motorsport related. You'd like us anyway.
Great show. Gentlemen, speaking of which, should we record this show?
Yeah.
We should.
So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our recording software of choice, be it Audacity, be it Adobe Audition, be it, I don't know, Windows Recorder or something.
Let me get my 1979 Walkman out.
I'm going to record. I'm recording the video on Laserdisc. Is that a problem?
Oh man!
As long as you're not using RCA CED.
I was about to say the video high density market is just booming out there, waiting to be tapped into, and we're not doing that.
Oh Lord!
What's this thing called? Home video.
Nah, VHS. It's just a fad. It's gonna die.
Yeah, Betamax forever.
Never heard of it. We've got 26 of you in here right now, so thanks for joining us. Do really appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Gentlemen, are your Audacities all open?
Yep. Yes.
Are we clear to? So we are clear to proceed. Thank you very much,
Yes.
ladies and gents, friends of the non-binary. If you're listening, just only fair. I give you guys watching a valid warning. For obvious reasons, a quite sensitive crash happened, and we'll be talking about it right at the top of the show. Listener discretion and viewer discretion is advised, of course. Look after yourself.
I mean, it's gonna be the cover of the show, so it'd be real weird.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought I'd make it idiot-proof, King, and just, get it out of the way now, okay? This point is sensitive subject matter. Just be a little careful. Because I know this emotionally was a lot for a lot of people. And, we are going to be talking about it significantly for probably the first half hour of the show at least. So just bear that in mind. Otherwise, enjoy. Have a good one. And, we'll try and get some chat comments in there where I can. We're not going to make any bones about this being a live show and whatnot. Actual live stream on YouTube. So, hey, real interaction is fun. We like that in there. So, enjoy the show, and we'll hopefully catch you on the flip side. But, gentlemen, Audacity's open. You may start recording in 3, 2, 1, now. And the clap after the 3, 1.
Wait.
Red flag.
I think I need to restart my Audacity. Audacity's like, hey, we're gonna act like recording, but not do anything because we're having performance anxiety.
It's alright. It's alright.
We
Take two.
We will have that problem.
Okay, I'm just gonna restart Audacity.
We just need to do go
Okay.
Throttle.
Okay, I just did a quick. We're good to go.
Okay.
We're good? Okay,
No.
Everybody's good. Gentlemen, you may start recording in 3, 2, 1, now. And for synchronization purposes, the clap after the 3, 1, 2, 3. Very good, very good. If anyone wants to take the intro, speak now, forever hold your peace.
This is the part of the show where we awkwardly look around and wait for Trey to come up with an intro.
This is what happens like 70% of the time. This is true. For some reason, I'm just a bit snappier with this sort of thing. It's that broadcasting experience, apparently. But right, hang on. Ooh, so I'm actually struggling on this one for the first time in a while. This one's a bit more serious. Normally we're quite jokey about these sort of things. This one doesn't really fit. But well, I'll try and figure something out here. So F1 went to Bahrain, and for a few short minutes, F1's world stood still. Welcome back to Motorsport 101. This is normally the creative part where the intro rolls in, and then afterwards it gets cut down, so when we start up again it just goes, hey guys, Dre Harrison here, welcome to episode 282 of Motorsport 101, with a difference. We are live streaming this on YouTube as we speak. Hello YouTube, hello internet, hope you guys are doing great on this one. We thought that on this occasion, this was such a manic, shall we say, 7 days, or really more like 5 days to be honest, in motorsport, that we thought it would be appropriate to basically go live and have an extra long edition of the show, which you guys can watch and interact with as well. Great idea. King gets full credit. He gets. But it was his idea, so thank him on Twitter or something. Of course, you all know why. Mort will be dominating the first half of this show, talking about the unfortunately horrific incident regarding Romain Grosjean that thankfully he is okay from. And Lewis Hamilton won. You know, that apparently happened as well. There was a race, just happened to be in there. We were all a little bit too numb and a bit too raw to really soak it in, but it did. I can confirm it did officially happen. We'll also be talking about all the crazy news that has dropped in since then. Our world champion has the Rona. There's been a bit of a reshuffle on the grid to fill his spots. We have 2 factories leaving Formula E and a whole heap more, including, as I like to nickname on this show, a Jacobellis moment at the end of Super GT season finale as well. So there is a lot to get through in the next probably around an hour and a half. So if you're in the UK, given it's 9:30 right now watching us live, you're in for the long haul, but thanks for sticking with us. Much appreciated. With me, as always, on the show, we have RJ O'Connell. Hello, sir.
Good evening, Dre. Yeah, what a wild week of racing, to say the least. I've got a little else to say to that. Where do you start? Where do you even start with this?
I don't even know where you start on this. It's like Haas announcing their full driver lineup for next year and closing the door effectively on silly season wars. Barely in the top 5 for crazy stories this week, which just kind of says it all, really. With me as well, Ryan Eric King. Hello, sir.
Hey, and I should let you know that silly season isn't over. We still got 3 key seats to know who's gonna be in next year.
Ooh, good point. Who will be in the Mercedes next year?
Oh my god!
For God's sake.
As if there's been no fuel added to that fire in the last 48 hours. And of course, with me is Cam Buckley. Hello, sir.
Hello, everyone. Has to be said, when I woke up on that fateful day, and the first thing on my phone was that Lewis Hamilton had the vid.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to think.
We're calling it the vid now. We're not even shortening it to the Rona. We're just calling it the vid now.
These are interchangeable.
Yeah, I thought the Rona was the cool name. I thought I had that one down. He's called the Rona, but no, he's over the vid. The vid. I'm not sure how I feel about that one personally, but we'll roll with it. And yeah, I remember literally waking up in the morning and seeing that news and just tweeting, "Oh Jesus! Everything is on fire." It's like that scene in Community. Yeah. In the next hour and a half or so, we got a lot to get through, so I'll get the general housekeeping out of the way. Places you can find this, ironically, on YouTube. I mean, duh. YouTube.com/Motorsport.
Hi, you're already here. Welcome.
Yeah, hi. Subscribe. Why not? We need more subscribers here. And if you hit the bell when we go live with moments like this. That's always fun. We're on Facebook.com/Motorsport101. We're on Twitter at Motorsport_101. And our handles are at House101HD for me, at RJ O'Connell for RJ, at Ryan Eric King, and C Buckley 917 for Cam.
Not the complaints inbox.
Definitely not. Honestly, we at no point in the pre-show that it's going to be the edited version of this did we ever mention that Cam was the complaints line. We're not mean like that. We would never do that to our lone Bostonian. Anyway, if we really like us, you can back us financially on Patreon, patreon.com/Motorsport101. $5 gets you early access to all the audio versions of this show. You can upgrade to the gold tier for $10 for the video versions of all these shows, and you can access the supporters club of our Discord server where you can listen to all of our episodes live as they're being recorded in that section. This is a one-off because we thought we'd treat you every once in a while, considering our Christmas present. All bunch of other perks and rewards on there as well. All the details are on there, and of course on our website as well at motorsport101.com. If you're a big fan of the two-wheeled variety, there is a 6,000-word season review on the MotoGP written by yours truly on there. You can check out if you're in the blog section, if you're into that sort of thing. Without further ado, we'll get into the Bahrain Grand Prix of 2020.
Lucky number 8.
Oh boy, was he lucky.
Sensitive subject matter. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. Look after yourselves.
It was almost like everything that had come before it didn't matter. Hamilton's 98th career pole position, a 1-2 Mercedes lockout. Verstappen again the best of the rest in third. But it didn't matter. Just 20 seconds into a hectic start, Bottas lost 4 places, Leclerc squeezed his teammate out, and then we all saw a fireball on the inside of turn 3. And F1's world froze for a moment. Romain Grosjean took an aggressive swipe to the right of the track after turn 3. He brushed the front of Daniel Kvyat's car, lost control, and hit the harm code barrier at 137 miles per hour, registering an impact of 53 Gs. The impact caused a major fuel spill, triggering the fire and splitting the Haas car in two. The medical car, piloted by Andy Vandermeer, carrying Dylan Roberts, was immediately on the scene as the race was red flagged, as were first response firefighters Joby Matthew and Tyre Ali Taylor. Miraculously, Romain escaped the fireball relatively unharmed, escaping with only minor burns to his hands. The halo, the much criticized safety feature for its aesthetics, embedded in what was left of the barrier, almost certainly saved Romain Grosjean's life and gave him the opening to escape the cockpit, an inferno where he may have only been 30 seconds away from death. Romain was airlifted to hospital for further checks, but thankfully was okay and was released from the hospital on Tuesday, and I'm glad to report that he is at the paddock today. Of course, he will not be racing this weekend at the Secure Grand Prix. This weekend, he'll be replaced by a second-generation Brazilian driver, Pietro Fittipaldi. After the incident, there was an 80-minute delay to add a new concrete barrier to replace the destroyed one in an incident. We were lucky. We were able to race again, despite a visibly shaken paddock and an audience that was also visibly shaken. Maybe for the first time since the tagline was introduced, we really did race as one. Everything else seems inconsequential by comparison. The first lap of the restart, Lance Stroll was flipped upside down after Kvyat didn't commit to a pass at the hairpin. Lewis Hamilton pretty much led start to finish. The only minor scare was a Verstappen undercut during a rare two-stop race that led to nothing after Red Bull had an uncharacteristic pit stop error. Valtteri Bottas was hit with a puncture and had to climb his way back up to 8th. Sergio Perez was on for back-to-back podiums for Racing Point, but a catastrophic MGUK blowout 4 laps for the end had the race finish under yellow and promoted Alexander Albon to his second podium of the year. But after that same Perez blowout featured a Marshall running across a live track, we suspect this will be a Grand Prix that we'll be wanting to forget for many, many reasons. Trey, let's talk about the Grosjean wreck, because you were there watching it.
Yeah, I was in the middle of a cold, lonely, dark bookies under maintenance. But it was not nice watching that. Like, normally I would be at home watching it, probably with you guys in an enormous chat on Discord, and I was on my own on that one, and that was terrifying to watch. Utterly utterly terrifying. I've been watching this sport personally 20 years. I've never seen one quite like that. Like, not where the visual impact of a fireball on the back of the track, with when you watch it live and you see someone in the wall and just poof, just a whoosh of fire. You just go, oh my god! And I immediately started thinking, this isn't gonna happen again, is it? I hope I've not witnessed another one. And I don't know how many of you guys here are two-wheeled fans who are listening in or watching right now. I assume some of you are if you're listening to us, but I've already had one big near miss this year, and that was the Frankie Morbidelli Johann Zarco incident in Austria. I thought, Jesus Christ, that was a really, really bad one. And if anyone knows MotoGP, you saw the pictures and how Maverick Vinales and Valentino Rossi were maybe inches away from something potentially far worse. The visibly shaken Valentino in the paddock after that incident happened. The first time I think I'd ever seen him really look his 41 years, and that one, I was numb. I just froze for a good 20, 30 minutes while just soaking it all in, just thinking to myself, thank God he was in the medical car only a couple of minutes after the incident had actually happened in real time. Next thing you know, you see him in the medical car talking to the medicals like, oh yeah, he's fine, guys, don't worry. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, because
that was the thing. For as horrifying as the crash was visually, thankfully, Romain was relatively unharmed.
Yeah,
there's a very powerful photo going around from Mr. Andy Hohn, who works with Haas F1 team. You've seen it coming around, and it's of the medical delegate trying to pull what appears to be a figure that is very barely visible, stepping out of the fire. That's Romain Grosjean.
Yeah,
and he said it himself. He could see death as that flame was coming towards him. I mean, I had just woken up when the accident happened, so I just had to register everything. And when I saw the replay, I'm just like, oh my goodness, Romain Grosjean is a very lucky man.
But
you see more evidence of like the cockpit of his car being embedded into the Armco.
Yeah, but the replays, that's when we saw the replays, we knew Romain was okay. That was when everyone sort of calmed down. The worst part was when everyone took the appropriate response, when everyone did what they're supposed to do. The fact that the fact that the race was red flagged immediately and there was no replay shown. That to me, looking at what was being posted on social media, that's what really panicked most people.
Oh yeah, that's all.
It was absolutely serious enough. To warrant that response.
Yeah, that's normally the telltale sign when you don't get a replay, when you don't see what happened. When Jules Bianchi had his tragic accident, they didn't show a replay at the time. It was just
there is TV footage that we will never see.
Yeah,
and we don't want to see it. Last year, the last time this where they took that response was, of course, last year when we lost Antoine
Hubert. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, just the visual of the crash, and the way the car came apart.
It broke in half.
Everything. Yeah,
it broke in half like in a Grand Prix 2 wreck.
For those of you who haven't seen the crash, Grosjean's car hit the Armco and just punctured through.
Yeah,
that initial impact was 53 G, which pretty high.
Yeah, pretty much his car went straight through the barrier, which again questions are being raised because that's normally not supposed to happen. Straight through the barrier, and it pretty much goes down the track inside the barrier, strikes the support, and the support splits the car in half.
Yeah, broke the car at the engine mounts. And if you know the architecture of a Formula One car, you know between the engine and the survival cell is the fuel cell. And the entire left side of the fuel cell was just looked like a shark had got at it.
Yeah. To be fair,
there appeared to be a pretty large
did its job, and only a small amount of the fuel actually ignited. And thank goodness for that.
Yeah, well, the safety team was right on the car with fire extinguishers as soon as they got there. and firing, using those fire extinguishers on Roman.
Yeah.
And after the fact, it looked like there was a good 5-6 inch hole gouged in the left-hand side of the fuel cell. I want to talk about the halo.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough can be said about it. Previous crashes, it looks like the halo did its job, but maybe it could have missed. No, with this one, the halo was embedded in the Armco, and the Armco was bent up around it. If it wasn't there, that would have been Roman's head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention, because of the fire, where the Armco actually broke around the halo, the top of the halo was covered. He couldn't get out the top, and if he got out the right side, he was going to be in the fuel. He had to spill himself out the left side, and the halo bent the Armco up around the car enough for him to have enough room to get out.
Yeah. Like, sort of making a reference to my favorite engineering disaster podcast, Well, There's Your Problem. On one of their early episodes,
Great show, by the way.
they talk about, in terms of, in one of their more serious moments, they talk about, all the aspects of safety protocol that make disasters survivable, and how it's not just one moment on whether you survive or perish, that there are hurdles you have to jump to be able to make it out of a situation like that. And for Roman, the halo got him across multiple hurdles. That first impact with the Armco, the halo makes sure the Armco doesn't strike him in the head. When the car is stuck in the Armco, the halo gives him room to escape, but not only that, it gives him a place to grab onto to pull himself out of the car. And again, we're talking multiple hurdles where the halo was there and it saved his life.
Yeah, this one is absolutely beyond reproach. It saved his life. And we are very thankful it is there, because Roman wouldn't be here.
And we're thankful as well for the quick work of Dr. Ian Roberts. Dr. Ian Roberts, who has been leading this medical crew. And a lot of due credit as well to a former racing driver in Alan Vandermeulen, who's been driving the medical car for the last, I want to say, 10 or 12 years?
Yeah, wow. And we got it was a fortunate situation and a very unfortunate situation that on the first lap of an F1 race, the medical car follows the field.
Yes.
Everyone, all the safety measures in place, from the car to, surprising as it might seem, the Armco, because that wall is supposed to have give, and if it didn't, that would have been a far more ferocious impact.
I agree. Yeah.
And the people involved in the medical car, the safety measures in place did a phenomenal job of ensuring that Roman got out of this with what amounts to minor burns on his hands.
Yeah.
Just as well, new fire suits this year that give you double the length of time and protection.
Yeah.
3 seconds instead of 10. Yeah. And
that 10 seconds is all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And if anybody hasn't seen it already, you may have seen Grosjean's done many an interview, obviously, since this incident. It's obviously gone viral across world news, and it still makes me a little bit sad that sometimes the only time F1 gets mainstream attention is during these sorts of awful incidents. Normally the very worst sort of incident we talk about in motorsport. But he mentioned that he wanted to get everybody who had a part in saving his life together. And we may have seen, if you follow Haas on Twitter, you've probably seen an incredible photo. I think it's something like 50 or 60 people of a combined effort to had a part in it. And a line that got me dusty-eyed watching was when he turns to the entire team and he just says, "Thank you all for saving my life." And it's
can't put it better than that.
It really is as simple, as raw, and as powerful as that. And F1, generally speaking, here did a phenomenal job. It cannot be understated. Just how many people, just how much hard work many people over the last decades have come together to make the sport what it is today, to enable 20 people in 20 cars with over 1,000 horsepower that can go 220 miles an hour to be able to race as feasibly safely as we can. And of course, we'll never be perfect, but
just as ferocious as the development war on the track is the development war off, to make sure that everyone comes home at the end of the day.
And that's what matters more than anything else we do when we watch this sport. We are very lucky that we can have that. I don't know.
Yeah, I also wanted to talk about Romain himself, because we tend to know Formula One drivers by their on-track accomplishments, and these last few years have not been the kindest to Romain Grosjean, I'm afraid. He's on his way out of Haas. He's on his way out of Formula One. He'll likely go out of Formula One having never won a race, which is unfortunate because he is a guy who was talented enough to be able to be a multiple Grand Prix winner.
It's a shame where his prime, he came back into the sport in 2012, of course, the short trial run he had in 2009. Didn't go so great. That car was pants. But, came in, and for all of his antics that people love to meme to this day, when he got his act together, he was the only person in 2013 who was really giving Sebastian Vettel anything to think about.
And more to the point,
were it not for reliability and a strategic mistake, he should have a couple wins on the board. And it's a shame that his prime was kind of undone by the collapse of Lotus and then moving on to Haas.
But even though there is a certain accomplishment to being in Formula One for 10 years, very few people have the opportunity to be in this championship for a decade.
And more to the point, you saw it in his Instagram videos when he posted, and he was very good humored as you could be under the circumstances.
He was still himself, and I don't think anyone begrudges his off-track personality, because he's a very beloved driver.
And I think we're going to miss that a lot when Romain Grosjean does step away. We're going to miss, the humility and the character that he has. I know people that have said, that they have been mean and harsh to him in the past, have said, hey, this whole incident has given them a new perspective on the kind of person that Romain Grosjean is. Of course, it's a shame that it took Romain Grosjean
it shouldn't have to take a crash this extraordinary for people to realize that.
I know.
And as mentioned, he will not be racing this weekend at the what we have affectionately called in the Motorsport 101 server as the Bahrain.
The Sakir Grand Prix at the Bahrain.
The Bahrain. But I do hope the burns are relatively minor. He's taking off more bandages every day.
Yeah.
I hope that he can come back for one last ride at Abu Dhabi, because I really don't want the last image of him in a Formula One car, leaping out of a conflagration behind an Armco barrier.
Right. That's not nice. No, it's just not a nice sight, really, is it? I'd rather have the Jensen Button approach, where he shows up drunk on Channel 4 after his car dies early. That'd be way funnier, personally. But no, I can't echo Cam's sentiments anymore. He's a very talented racing driver who should probably have had a couple of wins to his name, and a guy that survived a lot of flack and a lot of shit. I remember I was here in 2012, and he was universally one of the figures of ridicule.
Fun fact: my first Harrison 101 HD video was Dre's video about his one race suspension after the Spa incident.
Yeah, that video went viral. It had over 100,000 views on it. I do remember talking about that. That was 2012. My God. Yeah, and this is normally that sort of incident on the internet will typecast you forever. Like we still joke about Pastor Maldonado to this day. We still talk about Baku to a degree and how it was Ericsson's fault. Normally, when the discourse on the internet paints you in a role, it's very, very hard to escape that. And then Grosjean in the last year has basically become everyone's likable favorite uncle in the F1 paddock. Incredibly wholesome, incredibly charming. Even today, I saw him comment on news about a certain Haas driver, which we'll talk about. Give you a second generation. But just saying, look, there's some amazing people in this Haas team, and if you look after them, they'll give their lives for you. And that's just the sort of guy that Romain Grosjean is. And yeah.
Just as well, I mean, obviously he's going to be leaving Formula One, whether this was his last race or Abu Dhabi is his last race. We don't know yet. But whether he decides to hang it up after this, or he decides to move on to another form of motorsport, there's a lot of rumors about it, some endurance racing programs. I think any series that gets him will be better for it.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. And we'll be glad to see Romain Grosjean if he does decide to continue. We will be glad if he has an opportunity to have success again, because despite what the recent track record of form will tell you, and Grosjean talked about it, he says it hurts to see how far Haas have fallen in the last few years since he's joined the team. It'll be great to see him back where he can compete for victories and have success.
I prefer to remember him in a dying Lotus team dueling with a pair of Red Bulls.
Yeah, that was way more fun. I want to get a couple of interesting talking points again. This is one that's came out today as well. The sensitivity regarding the replays. Now, as mentioned in the script we had earlier, there was an 80-minute delay between Grosjean's initial incident and the time we restarted. Hard to avoid if you were watching on the World. I know some guys on the Discord here, for example, were watching the F1 TV version, Pit Lane, with the great Alex Jakes, who I haven't said publicly yet, but congrats to him on getting the Channel 4 gig for next season. That's a hell of a pull for Channel 4 and Free to S coverage in the country. That's friggin' huge, so congrats to him. But if you watch the World feed, there was a lot of replays of the incident. I think one of the most outspoken people against that was Daniel Ricciardo, who...
Oh, absolutely. He was fuming. He was outraged.
Ricciardo, who, as we all know, is one of the most laid-back and easy-going characters in Formula One, was visibly shaken and angry.
It takes a lot. You said it. It takes a lot for Daniel Ricciardo to bare his teeth like that.
Yeah, he's just not that sort of guy, and we've seen him now in the sport for the better part of a decade himself. And yeah, he was visibly angry at the sport itself for broadcasting the incident as much as it did. Apparently, Romain's partner Marion has also followed through and saying that he agreed with them, and saying, I think the line that Daniels said that stuck out to him most was it's fucking us up, or along those sorts of words. Yeah. The amount of times that was being replayed. I think Sebastian Vettel also said that he talked about how, listen, a lot of people like this sort of thing, and he's kind of right, unfortunately. I've heard many a discourse.
Vettel, of course, who's one of the heads of the GPDA, said he was actively going out of his way. Yeah, Romain's the head of the GPDA. Was the one who crashed, and Vettel was actively going out of his way to avoid replays.
Yeah, I mean, in somewhat deference to the World Feed producers, this incident happened turn 3 of the race. Yeah. During an 80-minute red flag. Not
much else to talk about, really.
Yeah, during an 80-minute red flag, there's nothing else to talk about. How else do you fill the time? Do you want to interview the drivers? What are you going to ask them about?
What are they going to say?
It's sort of a lose-lose situation. It's either we talk about the incident, show replays, or we don't show replays and try to interview people in pit lane. And
either way, we will have to talk about the incident at some point. And it's not going to be comfortable. Thank goodness at least they waited until they confirmed that he was okay to show it.
Yeah, that's the bare minimum requirement as far as I'm concerned. This is what I said this on Twitter the night of the incident itself, and I read Daniel's piece. And look, I'm not saying this to dismiss what Ricciardo has said. He's absolutely, he's got every right to grit his teeth on this. And I said on Twitter at the time, I don't think there's a right answer to this one. I said I understand where the broadcasters are coming from it was. I actually at the time underestimated that. I thought it was about 45. Turns out it was 80 minutes, and you can get an entire Italian Grand Prix in 80 minutes. So you've already seen nearly an entire Grand Prix of time elapse between the initial incident and the time we got going again. I completely understand that, especially if you're talking about it purely from a broadcaster standpoint. I understand how you might want to inform new viewers who are expecting a Grand Prix to be happening right now. If you would normally tune into that time slot, wondering why is everybody in the pit lane, why is everybody in the paddock, why is there a red flag, why has this been such a massive delay? And as a broadcaster, you've also got a duty to inform your audience. And thankfully, by the time we got to that point, we knew Grosjean was okay. So I understand the broadcaster's angle of keeping their viewers informed. And, if you're not going to interview the drivers, which is, again, understandable given what's just happened, given it's a sensitive matter, and as we all saw on the pictures, there was a lot of shaken up people in that pit lane. Ted Kravitz said it himself on the world feed. It was like, look, he said, I've been doing this for like 20 plus years. I've never seen a paddock so visibly shaken. Was the words that Kravitz said. And you all know he's been here for donkey's years. If you're not going to do that, you haven't really got much else of a choice. Like, you can't expect commentators to fill time for 80 minutes and not talk about the reason why you're having an 80-minute delay. So, in my opinion, I get it. I get both sides of it. I don't think there's a right answer.
The answer really is somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah,
they had to show it to give people who may not have seen the initial incident context. They also probably could have shown it a little less than they did.
Yeah, but I mean, admittedly, when there was something else to show, they did show it. Like, I'm pretty sure we're going to get to it. When the minute they started working on repairing the barriers, that's what they cut to, and that's the only thing they showed after that point. It's just that there was such a long just period of dead air where nothing was happening at the track, and there was nothing else to talk about because we only got through 3 corners of the race. And
they kind of need to talk about...
they could only talk about how long, like, what the grid order was going to be when we restarted the race was and how different it was going to be.
That even caused some confusion because they had to rewind it back to the pit exit line to set the grid for the restart.
Yeah.
So sorry to cut you there, Cam. I just want to get a couple of viewer comments in as well, because I know Vic and Zoe's got some valid points as well. Vic mentioning, I understand it, but he also said he did think that Sky in their red flag period to put replay footage from multiple angles on their YouTube channel was in bad taste. Yeah, probably was.
Agree.
And Zoe also says, I think the drivers are sitting in the pit lane wait, and every screen was showing replays was what annoyed Daniel. Again,
but that's not on the broadcasters, though. The teams control what's shown in their garage.
Right, so again, like if that's the case, then he'll have to talk to his own team about that one, personally. But yeah, I know. I think this was a point that was worth making because I know Daniel has had a lot to say on that. Apparently, he's had a sit down with the FIA today regarding this, and I'm glad that the FIA at least has entertained the conversation and had some dialogue about it. That always helps. So I hope. I don't know if they'll publish anything about it or they'll talk about it publicly. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. That's the nature of live shows and live recordings. You never quite know what will come up. But again, if there's some further discourse or some context, I'd love to hear it, because that's look, I don't envy any broadcaster in that scenario. That's the worst case scenario to be a broadcaster. Someone that's been on that side of the camera before, I know how rough that can be, to say the least, and they've known to make some hard decisions. So I'm glad that at least there's been some dialogue between both major parties on that front. But yeah, that's pretty much or most of what we get through for the Grosjean section. Again, we'll be a little bit more lighthearted now, I promise.
I wanted to talk about the barrier repair itself because we all had some questions about this, because Grosjean hit the Armco so hard that it destroyed the underground structure of the Armco.
Yeah,
it has posts dug down into the ground. It pulled some of those posts up.
It's a weird place to hit too.
Yeah,
the biggest problem really is that the wall is at a very bad angle for it almost encourages a head-on collision if someone goes off there. But you wouldn't expect someone to go off there because it was well after the corner.
Right.
It's a crash that you wouldn't expect to happen, but after that, the FIA replaced the Armco barrier with solid concrete blocks.
Yeah, and that brought up a lot of question marks because before they brought the blocks in, they completely pulled up the second layer of Armco that's required to be in front of the first layer. So it seemed like they were going to use the second layer to patch up the first, and then they just decided not to.
Yeah.
That's because the structure in the ground of the first layer was damaged. They started because Armco, a typical Armco repair, there's only one real way to do it, which is cut the old section out, weld a new section in.
But no. It seemed like they were gonna. It seemed like they were gonna replace the structure because they completely dug up the second layer, supports and all.
Dug everything out.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would have been able to get it to set quick enough to go back racing in the ground.
Yeah,
that'd be a question for someone. That'd be a question for someone more involved with that specific kind of barrier repair.
Yeah, but for context, once a Grand Prix starts, there is a hard 4-hour time limit that the race has to be finishing, including red flag periods. It's 2 hours of green flag racing, or green or yellow flag racing, but it's also a 4-hour hard limit where this race had to end basically by 6:10 British time.
We call it the Montreal 2011 rule.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've seen as well, like incidents like Mike Rockenfeller's crash at Le Mans in 2011. If it caused enough damage to the Armco, it can take hours to replace.
Right. So yeah,
this wasn't. It wasn't a good look.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't a good look, but nothing. I don't think anything that they would have done would have been a good look.
Yeah.
No, other than canceling the race due to barrier repairs.
And we all know that. I know in this sport's like, that's the last resort. That's if there is no way we can resume this race safely option. And we like, no one ever wants to cancel a Grand Prix if they can help it. So, yeah, I said on Twitter at the time when I saw the concrete ball, I was like, if that's the extent of the repair, I'd rather we not race tonight. However, I'm not the one making the key decisions at the FIA, so they raced anyway.
You could argue the Armco had too much give, but concrete having no give, we've seen the results of that plenty of times.
Yeah, they were willing to bet that nobody else was going to test that part of the track where typically nobody hits the barrier. Well, they were lucky that bet paid off. I mean, the weirdest thing that we had happen was 8 quarters into the race, once we restarted it, Lance Stroll comes up and flips upside down because Kvyat can't commit to the move, and Stroll kind of shuts the door on him. Sits one half dozen of the other, and we have 2 bad wrecks before we even complete a green flag lap of racing.
Before we complete a green flag sector.
Yeah, they met at the apex, and it was never going to end well.
No, Kvyat
I think was testing his luck there.
Yeah, he half kind of went for it. He was thinking about it as the braking zone was going by. What do you expect Stroll to do in that scenario? He's going to take the corner he's entitled to at some point. He does.
Yeah.
Kvyat doesn't back out of it. And next thing you know, Stroll's upside down, and I'm just sitting there going, for God's sake, we just got going again. Now our car's upside down. So I was just like, for God's sake, make this end already. And then, they took a few laps under a safety car to move Stroll's stricken car out of the way. Luckily, he was fine. Kvyat a 10-second time penalty for his involvement in the incident.
Kvyat had a hell of a day.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
He was caught up at the least. And, I don't think it would be fair to pin the blame of the Grosjean incident.
The first one, unfortunately, was 100% Grosjean's fault.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that it ended the way it did.
Yeah, of course. Yes, please do not insinuate that Daniil Kvyat was in any way at fault for that first incident. Other broadcasters.
Feel free to insinuate that for the second incident.
Yes. Basically, one Kvyat giveth, the other taketh away. As we joked about, this was a rather inconsequential race afterwards, thankfully. probably for the best that it was, to be fair.
Yeah, that was my feeling at the 2014 Russian Grand Prix. This race was boring as hell. Everybody got home safely, and that's the most important thing. It's fine.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton had a great race. Red Bull bungled a pit stop. We thankfully we avoided another tragedy when a marshal ran across the track when Sergio Perez's car blew up. And
Perez drove around for a good 2 laps with he drove around for a good 2 laps with smoke, and his MGUK went kablooey.
Yeah. That brutal, shout out to a friend of mine on Twitter, one Andy Graham, who tweeted about 10 minutes before it happened, quote, Sergio Perez has never had back-to-back podiums in Formula One.
Blame him. Yeah, send messages to his DMs.
To be fair, I've got to hold my hand up here. Somebody tweeted me saying Dre who's going to end up on the podium, and I raised my hand and said it was like Sergio Perez has won the Valtteri Bottas lottery, and then 10 minutes later his car blows up and I had to tweet in response, I take full accountability for this one. This one's on me. Blame me for that one. No, I have to hold my hand up there and just say, whoops, that was kind of my bad. So Checo, if you're watching, don't put that one in your montage for that press conference you did on Monday. More on that in a minute. But that got Albert on the podium. Thankfully, again, everybody was all right. Dear Marshall, please don't run across a live track.
Yeah, for those listening, the Marshall running cross track, that was not anyone at race control or the FIA's fault. The Marshal took that decision on his own despite being told not to.
You don't have to be a hero on that one. Wait for the safety car.
Absolutely.
I truly don't mean to sound morbid, but it's something. Somebody made the observation across the timeline that, look, in this one race, you had incidents that were reminiscent of Francois Severe, Roger Williamson, and Tom Price, all in the same Grand Prix weekend.
Yeah.
And thank goodness that with the safety measures in place, everyone was more or less okay at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yes, the damage all mental than anything else. I don't think anything physical, thankfully.
I don't know. That's a couple inches of bandages on Grosjean's hands.
Yeah, that's a few burnt fingers, thankfully.
Which made for some great boxing poses while he was at the hospital.
He wants Jake Paul. He wants Jake Paul.
Oh no!
Don't tell Nate Robinson that. Oh dear. Right. There's been even more to discuss in the aftermath of this race.
How can it possibly get even wilder? Well,
Tuesday morning about 5:30 a.m., Mercedes releases a statement saying that Lewis Hamilton has tested positive for COVID-19 and is out of the Sakir Grand Prix. Holy shit! F1 Twitter explodes. There were statements made, immediate speculation on his replacement. More on that in a second, but yes. Story goes is that Lewis Hamilton was feeling fine after the race, but on Monday night he experienced mild symptoms. He ordered another test as a result of that, and when the test came back, it came back positive, which means he's now required by Bahrain law to self-isolate for 10 days, which puts it pretty close to the final race of the year in Abu Dhabi as well.
I was going to say 10 days as a minimum.
Yeah, it's a 10-day minimum.
Future.
That puts him on Thursday, the day before the Abu Dhabi weekend officially starts. So, that could be touch and go depending on whether he still tests positive or not before he's allowed into the paddock. So that, who knows? We know this virus has a roughly 2-week incubation period, so who knows? It could be touch and go whether Hamilton races at all again this season. Of course, because he has experienced mild symptoms, you do wish him the best, of course. It's a bit... It's shit that, arguably the two biggest names in motorsport over the course of the years both suffered COVID-19 and genuinely apparently had it quite rough. So that's always shit to hear. So hopefully he'll be back in a racing car in Abu Dhabi, maybe not, but at least he's seemingly relatively okay. Wish him the best, of course, from all of us here. So, of course, after about 3 minutes of saying it, well, soon everyone says, "What? Who's going to be in that Mercedes for next week?"
I'd say the most coveted racing seat on Earth just opened up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when it first began, everyone's like, "Well, Mercedes has a reserve driver, so obviously that reserve driver is going to get the seat." Nah, forget that. Time for wild speculation. Anything's possible.
Yes.
Nico Rosberg back.
Oh, I got buried on Twitter for pointing out they have an official reserve driver. His name is Stoffel Van Dorn. He would have been at Silverstone earlier this year because Mercedes have shared its reserves amongst their supplied powered cars. The only reason he wasn't there in Silverstone instead of Hulkenberg was because he was in Berlin contesting the Formula E season finale. So I just said, well, yeah, it should be Stoffel Van Dorn. He's the official reserve driver. He has a super license. Duh. He's only been out of sport for it for 2 years. They'll just fly Stoffel over after the Formula E testing.
He was already planned to fly over after the end of FE testing.
Exactly. So he was already planning to fly over after the test ended, which was happening pretty much the same time this user dropped. Everyone was cracking jokes about, oh, you're going to smuggle Stoffel in Bahrain and get him in the reserve driver, but of course
the Mercedes FE team admin was playing into it.
Oh yeah, totally. It was all fun and games, but Twitter was buying none of that shit. They were saying, "It's George Russell time, baby! It's George Russell time!" And I was sitting here thinking, why in God's green earth would Williams cough up their star driver for a round that is probably on paper their best shot of scoring points? Which, by the way, they have not done this season, in case you've forgotten. So I was sitting here thinking, what?
Here's the thing. The check cleared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and...
the check...
But before we talk about the possible outcome, the outcome, what happens, like, what is Williams' real prospect at points here? Like, for them to not finish last in the Constructors, they don't have to... They need to score more than not 1 point, not 2 points. They need to score more than 3 points to jump to ninth.
Place.
No,
just because they took the infield section out of Bahrain, are we sure that this suits them? Hell, they could end up even worse off than they were in Bahrain.
No, because Ferrari scored points via sheer dumb luck at a track which typically has suited them since the start of the turbo hybrid era.
Every time the sky has fallen out for Williams to score points, they have not been able to get over the line. Call me jaded. Yeah. Call me jaded over the course of the season. If they had the opportunity to get George Russell a seat and then they keep him there and they don't score any points, they're going to look like they just screwed that kid over.
But that's not a normal scenario. It's like, oh no, please cough up your driver for us. Like, out of principle,
based on past behavior, Williams wouldn't do that.
Right. So
I don't know.
Based on past behavior, I mean, a month ago,
pure fucking vitriol.
A month ago, we were worried that the new ownership was going to just flip him for Sergio Perez right then and there.
So I was going to say, if you're talking about making them look bad, they were about to flip Russell for Perez. That ship had already sailed, as far as I'm concerned. But so I thought they were going to keep it. And let's not forget, as RJ points out, Williams have had 4 11th placed finishes this season, 3 from Nicholas Latifi of all people, and 1 from George himself, not to mention the spin out from the safety car in Imola when he was running 10th. So yeah, it's been pretty rough for Williams this year. They've had opportunities.
Well, in fairness, Williams do have the best bargaining chip, that race seat. They're effectively holding George Russell's career hostage. Like,
we have your man.
Then you think Mercedes is holding Williams' slightest chance of being competitive by supplying them the Mercedes engine.
Right.
That was the only thing that's going to bring them points potentially this weekend.
Exactly. So all that speculation was rampant and up in the air. I got buried on Twitter by many people for suggesting that their official reserve driver would take part. That's blasphemy. What a theory. We even had Jason in the chat who's mentioned by Shuckle. It's John Cena! But no, the following morning, we got woken up to the news that the check had cleared, as Kat pointed out. The funds had been made available, and George Russell is getting his seat fitted at Mercedes this morning, because George Russell will be in the factory Mercedes team running the 63 this weekend.
I love it. I love it. I would have loved if Stoffel Van Dorn got that seat, to be honest.
I was saying, I'm conflicted because on one hand, of course you want to give Russell the opportunity.
Yeah.
If you're saying, if you're beating your chest every time someone brings up the question saying, no, he's not going to be like Pascal. He's not going to be like Esteban. We're going to put him in our seat one of these days.
And you have the opportunity to do it, you better do it.
Yeah, they put their money where their mouth is. At the same time, Stoffel, what is my purpose? Mercedes, you do sim work.
You do sim work and drive our Formula E car.
Yeah, but I mean...
You make things.
It begs the question why he's there as a reserve driver.
Yeah, though, for Mercedes and Toto Wolff, this is to find out whether George Russell, is he the real deal? Is he your Garrick for Pip? Is he your Brady for Bledsoe? Is he gonna come up in the clutch and be able to perform in a top seat like everyone on social media claims he's ready for?
I heard the pain in King's voice when he said that.
Yeah. As a Jets fan, that was a song no end. But the 0-11 New York Jets, I had.
Winning the New York Jets is one of the greatest moments of my career. Bill Belichick.
No. Don't do that to him. Look, no, and that's what I've always, like, what King alluded to is exactly what I've always said. Look, the man's clearly talented. No one is disputing that. I mean, he won a Formula 2 title against a stacked field that's got two dudes in it that get all the plaudits amongst the rookie class. Well, one of them does. The other one gets a hard time because he drives a Red Bull. Point is that he beat those dudes in a spec championship only 2 years ago, and Russell was very, very, very good in Formula 2. And
you don't win back-to-back GP3 Series and Formula 2 titles in your rookie year on accident.
No. That's normally a sign that you're a very talented driver. We all know that his career at Williams has been hard to evaluate. He's in a car that's not capable of scoring points on a regular basis, and he's had two teammates that people have not taken seriously for a range of reasons, i.e. Robbie Kubica, who, was nice to see him back for a year, but wasn't on that level for the modern day F1 field. And then Nicholas Latifi, who immediately got the pay driver treatment from fans on Twitter because he was only a runner-up and had been a veteran of the Formula 2 series, which again people normally like to pin on someone being not so great. Because the Latifi ticked all those skeptical boxes we have about Formula 2 drivers coming up into the sport in general. So it's hard to get a read on just how good George Russell actually is. Well, this is a risk-free shot to find out just how good George Russell is. Try before you die. So
I was going to say, who gives a shit? They already won both titles.
Yeah.
It's a dead rubber race. They've already won everything they can win besides second in the championship. Fuck it, why not give him a shot as far as I totally get that logic for George Russell. It's a risk-free chance to see how he can perform in a car that's actually worth a damn, which is the only real question mark hanging over George Russell's head. It's just representation in this case. And
I've given it some thought. Have we ever had a case in Formula One where a driver clearly comes up at a rapid rate of progression, and then the minute they hit Formula One just completely falls flat on their face? Has Formula One ever had a Jamarcus Russell?
Yes. And it's the other guy who is in competition for that seat. Stoffel Van Dorn has one of the most glittering junior records of the last 20 years.
But we knew he was good.
But we knew George Russell was good. We've known for years.
Yeah.
We knew Pascal Wehrlein was good.
Yeah, Pascal Wehrlein, who was lighting the timesheets on fire in his Porsche FE car. More on that later.
What does that matter, though? They don't race at Valencia.
All the cars were at the same track.
But what Cam's trying to say here is that it doesn't matter what you do in your junior career or what equipment you get into when you're in F1. the stopwatch never lies. People only care about where you cross the finish line at the end of the race. And if you don't do well...
People didn't care that Stoffel Van Dorn had a broken chassis in 2018,
Yep.
and McLaren were publicly apologizing for not giving him the tools he needed. No one cared.
And ironically, the one person that pointed that out was the man he was competing against, Fernando friggin' Alonso, who...
Yeah, Fernando Alonso, who has one of the biggest egos in all of motorsport, is saying, "Look, I'm not beating Stoffel as much as you think I am."
Right. It's like playing a game of poker where Stoffel Van Dorn has a straight flush while not knowing that Fernando Alonso carries 4 aces. It's
not a coincidence. It's everything Stoffel Van Dorn stepped into. He was a rocket in, and he goes to McLaren right as the bottom completely fell out as far as 2017 was concerned.
Right.
Mm. And let's not forget here that, like I said, he was sacrificed for the fun-loving hipster McLaren team we all know and love gets blown up on Twitter today. Stoffel Van Dorn was sacrificed for Lando Norris. He was sacrificed for Al
Zach Brown. Well, Zach Brown was saying, look, he requires a specific balance from a car, and we couldn't provide it. Yeah. We're sorry for that.
Yeah,
but people don't care.
And now we're going through that again with the guy who skipped out on Formula E to come to F1, Alex Albon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's now in that exact same pickle himself, and his seat is far from secure in this sport going forward, because now it's looking like if he doesn't get the Red Bull seat, he might not be in the sport at all next year. So it's up for grabs on that one, but yes, like, I
gut feeling, Albon's seat might be safe because
I agree.
You got to remember that Red Bull's ownership is not majority Austrian.
No,
it is. It is a majority Thai owned, and
yeah. Where's his license from again? It's from London, right?
It's from wherever. It depends on how well he performs from weekend to weekend.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, it's Andy Murray-itis.
But I like how Stoffel put it on. I think it was on Instagram after. All these seats moving around.
All these places, and I'm just going back to the war zone.
Yeah,
just going back to Call of Duty.
As the Stoffel joked, if he joked on our Twitter account, shall we say, it was the literal and metaphorical version of the Gulag. Bad luck, Stoffel, to say the least.
I would love to see him get another shot. He should have never been displaced. He should have never been put in the position he was in. But to put a bow on it, once George Russell was made available, they had to take that risk. But what I want to talk about is this, too. What do y'all make of the other replacements? Because replacing Romain Grosjean is Pietro Fittipaldi, who has had a very long, convoluted, and interesting climb to get to where he is. And Jack Aitken moves up to replace Russell Williams.
I say Pietro Fittipaldi, who was he was doing very well in junior categories. Got an LMP1 drive, I believe, with what was it, the Dragon Speed team in 2018.
Yeah.
And had a hellacious accident at the bottom of Eau Rouge. Went straight on when the power steering failed and shattered both of his legs. He lost.
But not only that, he drove half the rear. Yeah, he drove half an IndyCar season on a broken leg. He drove one race in Super Formula where one of their team's chief engineers passed away on the week of the race. He won the Formula Renault 3.5 series, but didn't get any super license points because nobody hardly showed up. He had to get over the line with his super license points in the Formula 3 Asian Championship. Oh, by the way, his career didn't even start in single-seaters. It started in the NASCAR Touring Series.
The kids had it rough. But,
I love it. I love that dudes can still somehow come from these unconventional backgrounds to succeed. I hope Pietro Fittipaldi does a decent enough job given the circumstances.
Just get the car home, because we've seen how miserable the Haas is this year.
Yeah. And if I recall correctly, Pietro Fittipaldi will be the first ever track champion of Hickory Motor Speedway to get to Formula One.
You absolutely love to see it. Of course, with George Russell moving up to Williams has to find their own replacement driver.
And
they have one.
Of the three teams we mentioned so far, they're the only team to actually use their contracted reserve driver.
I like
Delatraz was not like Louis Delatraz was not salty about this at all.
Not in the least.
Nope, not at all.
Shades of Davide Valsecchi.
Yes, for those who don't know, Haas actually had a contracted reserve driver, Louis Delatraz, who, we haven't mentioned so far because Haas isn't using him to replace Grosjean.
They didn't even say a word about him.
Nope. A man who was on the podium in the Formula 2 sprint race that same weekend. Doing the Charles Leclerc one-stopper strategy.
He won the virtual 24 hours of Le Mans, my friends.
You're right. Esports. Yeah. Delatraz is but Delatraz missed out. Go follow him on Twitter because he was sassy as all hell about missing out on that opportunity. He made it quite clear how he felt about the matter. Quote, and I think the line he initially used was, "Great to see a team actually use its reserve driver," and that was a regards to Williams, who would put their official reserve driver in the car, and that was one Jack Aitken, who will be racing in his Formula 1 debut for Williams this weekend.
I like it. I like the move. Jack Aitken last year was probably pound for pound one of the best drivers they had. Up there with Nick DeVries, up there with Antoine Hubert when he was still with us, because Jack Aitken was driving for a team that traditionally does not run up to the front of most races, and he was contending for feature race victories all throughout the season in 2019. I know he's had a step back.
As long as he wasn't stuck behind a heavily blocking Mahavir Raghunathan.
Yeah, there's that. But that ain't on Jack.
No.
Victory is just going to be bring the car home and run peace, and don't let Nicholas Latifi embarrass you too much, my dude. Also, that helmet is just good helmet.
Oh yeah, Scottish tartan A+ helmet choice there from one Jack Aitken. Also, I have to mention this. George Russell debuted his helmet as well earlier today on Twitter. Shout out to WTF1's Tom Bellingham, who did a stream designing what he thought his helmet might look like. Follow it on Twitter. Bellingham was actually on the nose. I can't believe he was pretty much spot on.
If you look at Jack Aitken's Formula 2 car, there's certain logos on it. I'm not saying that he might have had some inside information, but the possibility is strong.
Yeah, well, that's good, Katie. We love your work. We appreciate what you're doing. Keep it up. Yo, I also thought we were going to be talking about George Russell's feet today.
Excuse me. The only that way.
Penalty, unnecessary horniness, 15 yards.
He had to wear a size 10 boot.
Well, King is going out into the fire.
Yeah. You just drove King away. What's wrong with you?
You just drove King into the sunset. Good job.
All I wanted to do was talk about how it was
King is out of the sunset.
He had to wear a smaller shoe to fit in the car. It's a perfectly valid argument.
Yeah, the front of the Mercedes package is packaged in such a way that George Russell needs to wear small boots. Moving on, the Haas lineup for next year was announced.
Yeah, over the course of 2 days, we heard...
Because I'm not spending any more time on that subject.
Over the course of 2 days, we heard what Haas's lineup was going to be. And it was the heavily rumored lineup of Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher.
Wow,
Schumacher is back in Formula One. It is probably the worst team on the grid.
Yeah.
No.
Honestly,
it's not too different from. Oh wait, Jordan were actually a lot better than the worst teams in '91.
Yeah, because the thing is, Mazepin and Schumacher is a fairly strong lineup, and
it's solid.
The fact that they're in the second worst team,
I wouldn't argue second worst anymore because we didn't mention this during our recap of the Grand Prix. All three Ferrari teams lost something to the tune of 1.3 seconds per lap compared to last year.
That's true.
And couple that with the Haas being kind of shit. Haas stink. They stink.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when Leclerc walk in with Alfa Romeo back when Alfa Romeo / Sauber were not that good. And that ultimately has to be Mick Schumacher's comp. It doesn't. You cannot compare him to his father. You have to use Charles Leclerc as his most realistic benchmark.
I think the benchmark has to be, where do these two? I wouldn't even say George Russell, because I legitimately think the Williams is better than the Haas now.
Yeah,
I think it has to be the benchmark of Grosjean and Magnussen, two drivers who, let's not forget, are podium holders in F1.
Yeah,
and clearly a lot more talented than this car can show. How do they perform next year compared to where Haas is this year?
I don't even think where we're going to be talking about next year, because they both have multi-year deals. Like, Haas are clearly thinking long-term. I think next year it's going to be...
I don't know if Haas is going to live long-term at this rate.
Well,
I would hope.
The team's going to be around. Don't know who's going to own the team, but the team will certainly be there.
Yeah, look,
Gene's just going to hand it off to Tony, be like, here, you hold the reins for a while.
Go on, Jay.
No, I think if there was going to be a transfer of ownership, let's just say Nikita Mazepin, who can be a bit of a prickly character, shall we say?
It's a bit of an understatement.
He's still quick, much quicker than we give him credit for most of the times. And yes, he does come in with financial considerations.
Yeah, let's consider right now, both of these drivers, off track antics aside, name aside, they're both pretty good drivers.
Yeah, they're both good drivers.
Mick is going ham in the F2 championship. Nikita is an F2 race winner and a proven quantity.
Right. Yes. That's the exact point that I was going to make. Look, this is, in theory, exactly what we want this system to provide. Your champion is going to move up, and the man that's currently third in the championship is also likely to move up. And I know, like I said, Mazepin is very quick, especially when it comes to DMs. But he's also a very talented. Like, he's a driver. He's had many of them. Again, Bahrain this weekend, he was very solid. Like, he's a very good driver. You can't. When the only two people in the championship who are better than you are Mick Schumacher and the guy everyone is begging to get an F1 seat but won't, because we'll mention this quickly off the record. Callum Ilot's already said he will not be in Formula 1 next year, and he probably won't be in Formula 2 next year either, because he can't afford to stick around for another year because funding is hard. So Callum is considering a sabbatical. So
when you're worse than those two, you're pretty good.
Yeah. And I get that, because again, with all these FDA guys moving up, and he's in the FDA, maybe the FDA have a couple more dollars to spend on the dudes who did not get the chance to move to Formula 1. So I'd say wait and see about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope he sticks around, because Callum is absolutely good enough for Formula 1. He absolutely should be in Formula 1 as far as I'm concerned. He's proven that this year with tremendous improvement. Let's be honest. On
to finish on Mazepin, like, a guy that's that fast and has a bank account, what F1 team wouldn't want to sign him? He's literally the best of both worlds.
Oh yeah.
Right. And there's no argument with that. So he's just not popular and follows people on Twitter and likes their tweets about him indirectly, like Callum does, the people's champ. So yeah, he was never going to win that fight on the internet, but there was more than enough validity to give Mazepin an F1 seat, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, all complaints. It's a solid lineup. It's just,
at the end of the day, it's not going to be down to the drivers whether they're bad next year.
Do not crush Mick Schumacher with the weight of unrealistic expectations. We know who his father is.
And we know Mick. We know he typically is a second-year driver. He takes his time to learn and goes about things very methodically.
Mm-hmm.
It's the clutch whisperer.
The clutch whisperer.
The clutch whisperer. Very good.
Right off the line.
Indeed.
More on that later.
It'll be absolutely fine. And if you haven't seen it already, check out the dusty pictures of Mick carrying him as Michael carrying him as a baby at a karting track. And my heart just melted.
Wholesome content 101. Now, with a new Haas lineup, that means that Kevin Magnussen is out of a seat. Until he wasn't.
Chip likes dinner.
Joining Renger van der Zande as co-driver of the Chip Ganassi Racing Cadillac DPI VR for IMSA next year.
Chip likes a winner. Yeah, he's also said that, like, hey, no IndyCar opportunities just yet. I do feel conflicted, though, because with Grosjean and Magnussen, I see two drivers that had so much unfulfilled potential in F1. It's just like, I'm glad that Kevin is going back to a place where he can win, but it's just like, you're so close to that in F1, too.
Yeah, I mean, back to that, really, three drivers with a whole lot of either non-stories or stories this weekend. Stoff and Perez and Magnussen, all victims of Tim Goss's inability to develop a car with McLaren.
Yeah. And that's sort of the story of, Formula One and Grand Prix racing as a whole, where it is a lot about right place, right time, and you could be...
Just ask our world champion Lewis Hamilton about right place, right time.
Where to be truly, truly successful in F1, you have to be at the right place, at the right time. But the great drivers can give themselves opportunities over the course of many seasons to have that chance to be in the right place at the right time. And the fact that we've gotten to see these guys at, in the World Championship for that long, it's, again, a lot of what ifs, but we got to see a lot of great moments from these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just Kevin Magnussen's greatest crime as a driver, unfortunately, was not quite being as good as Jenson Button, 2009 Formula One World Drivers Champion.
Brutal.
In a pretty crap McLaren.
You can make a whole argument that generation of McLaren young drivers, save for Lando Norris, had so much wasted potential, because that's Magnussen, Van Dorn, Oliver Turvey, and Nick De Vries.
Yeah.
Yeah, a shitload of talent and next to nothing to show for it. That is just... Someone will write a book about that one day, but no, just something like you're absolutely right. We've got some great...
Now, what about that Checo presser?
Yeah, I'll get to that in just a sec. But,
nothing.
Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. Let's sort of point out as well, as King's absolutely right to say right place, right time is so important. I think, again, friend of the show, Jess McFadden, said it publicly once, good drivers get the top seats, the great ones keep them. And, that's it's a shame that Kevin's been a casualty of that, so to speak. But, you all know he's a good driver and he'll kill it in him. So, yeah, Checo's press conference. Now, this was announced on Friday that Checo was going to do a press conference with the media on Monday. Now, everybody immediately started speculating on what's he going to say, what's he going to do on Monday nights. Everybody tuned in. Now, already found out he was going to be speaking Spanish, which didn't exactly help either. So, shout out to Grace Walker on Twitter for translating for us. Much appreciated. But it was the Seinfeld of press conferences. It was a lot about nothing.
My God, he's doing the All Elite Wrestling. He signed a multi-year deal. You're a genius.
Literally nothing we didn't already know. He's either going to take a sabbatical from racing in general, or he's going to get the Red Bull seat.
Yeah,
pretty much.
It felt like, hey, maybe Red Bull is going to make a decision by this point, and it's either I'm going to announce that, hey, I'm waiting on a decision still, or I'm definitely going to take a sabbatical.
He's
going to take a transfer to Manchester City. Who knows?
Red Bull
Backinen.
And Red Bull clearly have not made a decision yet, so he's in wait-and-see mode, and ended up in a very awkward press conference.
Sergio Perez,
Red Bull,
quarterback.
Red Bull explicitly said that they're not going to make their decision on their second seat until really deep into the postseason.
After Christmas. Yeah, after Abu Dhabi, so probably nearer Christmas, more likely. So Checo now in limbo. I have a small humble brag when I basically tweeted as a joke said that Sergio was going to roll up on Monday night and say, here's a watch party for all 9 of my F1 podiums. Any questions? And then Luke Smith from Also Sport underneath tweeted me saying, Dre, that's pretty much what's going to happen. And I was like, this is my finest hour as a journalist.
Oh, Lord.
Yes!
Dre Stradamus here.
Stradamus strikes again.
I don't have them very often, but when I have the moments, they are spectacular.
Sergio Perez is declaring for the NBA draft, and oh my God, he's going to join Russell Westbrook at the Wizards. Let's go! Westbrook, Rui Hachimura, Sergio Perez, Hive, Real.
Yeah,
it feels like those two teams made that trade, had a handshake, and said, "Good luck." Yeah, you too.
Oh my God.
Let's trade some bad contracts.
Thank you for tuning into our basketball podcast. We are Bill Simmons.
Yep. Oh yeah, I did see that Ben Corcoran on Twitter tweeted his Spotify Wrapped playlist saying that we were the second most listened to podcast behind Bill Simmons' show.
Oh man, people out here.
We actually give regular airtime to people of color on our podcast media.
Yeah, and you know, we too have fans from Boston, so.
Yes, we do. So which
I'm part of the show.
Right, King. First of all, King, that's low.
You know what that's a reference to.
I do.
It's almost as low as the amount of Jets wins this year.
Oh, God. That's low. Look, first of all, I say I'm honoured that we were in a couple of the people's top 5 lists. That's bloody awesome. Second of all, F that Boston boomer union busting racist. Anyway,
oh my God.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Watch us
right to say it.
Watch us get kicked off of Spotify.
He doesn't own me.
Back together because German automakers be leaving Formula E. Audi announced they're leaving its factory. BMW announced it the same day. Audi says they're returning to sports cars under Le Mans Daytona hose mad regulations, and they're gonna run Dakar in 2 years.
Yeah,
no, RJ got it wrong. It's clearly Le Mans Daytona.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, Formula E. Formula E certainly is a topic. We had testing.
Yeah.
Some teams are fast. This track isn't representative. We'll see what happens.
No.
Yes.
But yeah,
exactly.
Audi coming back home, in a sense. I believe they're projected to enter Le Mans in 2023. Mm-hmm. Porsche have come out and said that this does not affect their plans. Of course, they being under the same automotive group.
And a bunch
Porsche
of
is working on it.
And a bunch of people from a French pepper mill company started sweating profusely.
Yeah, you know, they heard the Toyota was in there. Like, yeah, they only got 3 wins. They need about 10 more to catch Audi. They heard Peugeot was entering, and Volkswagen Group went out to polish their favorite belt.
They were like, Daddy's home.
So, yeah.
Oh man,
we could have a perspective. Geez, 6, 7 automakers in LMDH.
Part of me just imagining Sebastian Bourdais peeking into the sim room at Peugeot and saying, "Hey guys, are we winning yet?" And then someone turns and looks out.
Someone looks back at him with a 1,000-yard stare.
Are we worried about Formula E right now? Because I know some people may have taken this time to just be like, "Oh yeah, EV libs owned by facts."
Okay.
We also need to mention BMW left as well.
Yeah,
I've got thoughts on this.
BMW leaves all the time.
Yes.
They find something, then they get bored with it, and then they leave.
Yes, Cam. What are your thoughts on this very Deutsch departure?
If this laptop didn't cost me so much, I'd punch the screen right where King is on the screen.
King, that was bad even by your standards. That was that's brutal.
BMW, I swear to God, they don't know what they want to do for a motorsport program. They don't want to go into anything expensive, but when they go into things that are cheap, they're mad that it doesn't give them enough development potential, and then they leave when they don't win.
Yeah, that's why Audi said they left. They weren't seeing, they had met the maximum development potential that Formula E could give their road cars.
And to an extent, I agree on that. But I have other thoughts on Volkswagen's participation in FE.
It's not going to be Volkswagen Formula E team from the end of Season 7, it seems.
No, because we have other Volkswagen-related news, which I'll get into right after I make my point here. Why does it feel like, at the end of the day, this felt like a whole lot of greenwashing by the Volkswagen Auto Group after Dieselgate? And now that they have a viable alternative that isn't going to cost them $250 million every year to be in,
hydrogen,
with LMDH, that they're bailing pretty much immediately.
And hydrogen in the long run.
It feels like a lot of people... It feels like a lot of people believe that Formula E would always be like the earlier seasons, where it was almost, to a lot of people looking from the outside, completely random, where there was so much parity that anyone could be successful. But now we're falling into this sort of competitive order where there are now clear top teams and bottom teams, and Audi quickly realized that, hey, we're probably not gonna be one of the DS Tachitas.
No, and I mean, as you and I talked about after the initial testing, it appears that DS Tachita and Porsche have goddamn missiles.
Yeah.
And honestly, back to my point about Volkswagen Auto Group and greenwashing after Dieselgate, Porsche could win the title and say fuck them kids after the next year.
Yeah.
It has that, the programs from Volkswagen Group just feel like that right now. Couple that to Volkswagen scuttling all motorsport activity after committing a year ago to being purely EV motorsport.
Yeah.
And Bentley bailing on their factory GT3 program. And it just feels like as soon as they had a viable opportunity to get back into endurance racing without breaking the bank and without using a powertrain technology that was a really bad look in 2016, that they're just going back to what they know best, which is whooping that ass at Le Mans.
Yeah, and I think while everyone's been focused internally for looking internally for reasons of why each company left, it's kind of easy to forget the outside world and how pretty much it makes sense for these major manufacturers to be cutting expenditures because sales are just down across the entire industry.
Yeah, there's kind of this thing going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
You may not have heard, but people aren't driving cars as much to work.
No.
Probably because they don't go to places to work. You remember places? But yeah.
I honestly, I don't remember places. It's been so long. But yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm not that surprised that Audi left when a cheap alternative to LMP1 appeared.
Yeah. And also that they're trying to get the quote-unquote first ever electric win at the Dakar, which...
Woo?
Yeah, it seems like to them they feel like this could probably be an easy W, right? There's not that much manufacturer effort in the Dakar. We could do this. We're Audi, right? We're supposed to be good at
ironically,
this.
they waited because Peugeot just left. Toyota and Mini have scaled back their involvement. Audi's getting into this just like they did with LMP 900 in 2000.
They see that open goal and they're going for it.
Yeah, and I don't think LMDH will be an open goal, but we always knew they'd be back.
Yeah.
Ditto with Porsche, who, by all accounts, they said, this doesn't affect us. We're still working on our LMDH program. And just as well, Bentley scuttling their factory GT3 program. Now there's the rumor that Bentley might enter FE. It wouldn't surprise me if Bentley takes up the Audi team, because Audi just created a brand new powertrain for this year.
Oh yeah, and they're going to sell it.
Yeah, they
imply selling it, as will BMW.
Yeah, they imply that they're gonna keep supplying their customers, most importantly in Vision Virgin Racing. So they're gonna still be involved, just not as a factory outfit anymore.
Right.
And that, I mean, if your badge is still on the car, you still get marketing and you're spending less money.
Yeah, technically it still counts as an Audi win.
Envision Virgin, my favorite Harley Davidson factory racing team.
Stop it.
The badge is on the roll hoop. Let me have this.
If your battery stops leaking acid, start worrying. It's out of battery acid. Let's talk about the Formula 2.
Before we get into Formula 2, I think it's better we put it in now. RJ, tell us what happened in the Super GT season finale.
Oh my God! We had a Glock
Jinx.
moment. We had a literal Glock moment. We had a Kamish
No,
moment.
we didn't have a
Aguero
Glock moment. We had a Kaz Nakajima moment.
We had so it's the final lap of the race. Ryo Hirakawa and Kenta Yamashita for TGR Team Keeper Toms have thoroughly dominated this race, and with a win, they clinched the championship. Yamashita has been nails in his opening stint. Hirakawa's doing everything that he needs to win the title, and all of a sudden, a 15-second lead that he has over the Rayburg NSX of Naoki Yamamoto comes down to like a few seconds, and all of a sudden we're like worried, like, oh my goodness, is Yamamoto, former AlphaTauri test driver Yamamoto, I should point out, is he going to catch him? And it looks like in the final lap, the Heroes got enough until they come out of the final corner, Panasonic, the right-hand corner, onto the long front stretch, and with 500 meters to go, Hirakawa's car slows, Yamamoto passes him in the inside, Yamamoto and Tadasuke Makino, F2 feature race winner, win the championship in the race on the last 500 meters of the last lap. Are you kidding me? Go watch this.
Toyota. Stop putting odd numbers, specifically 7, on the sides of your sports cars. They are cursed as fuck. It's never gonna win. Just stop.
I am so happy. Last run for Rayburg as title sponsor for Team Kunimitsu.
This was the end of an era. The
Yes.
Rayburg NSX has been a staple of Japanese motorsports since 1996.
Yeah.
This was the last.
All of us grew up on that car in its various iterations. Oh man, that was wild to watch unfold. And let's not forget, we had a whole other class of competition. JP Oliveira finally wins his first title in 15 years in the series. Kyoto Fujinami is the last Nissan driver development program prospect, and he wins the title for Nissan and Kondo Racing, which I know that team desperately needed after off-the-field dramas 2 weeks before the race.
It
was a good
we need to
finish.
expand on that one. And keep in mind as well, Nissan doesn't have much motorsport left. This is one of the few places where they remain, and to get a dub, to get a championship, means a lot. First year championship for the front-engined NSX.
It's a thing. We have,
the Rayburg NSX.
We have
2 in 3 years for the Rayburg NSX.
and they don't even need Jensen Button to get it. Although we do love ourselves some Jensen Button.
We all love some Benson Jutton.
Oh,
Yes, we do.
That's why I'm wearing the jacket, folks.
Indeed.
Yeah, he's
And,
disgustingly on brand. Toyota, leave sports cars. You're a fucking disgrace.
Don't you do that. That's gonna take that. Don't you put that evil on my series, Cameron Buckley.
No, go back to Lexus. You were better.
No, personally, as the casual Super GT fan in the background, I'm just glad that on the long history of this podcast, I get to say we had another Jacobellis moment. And long-standing listeners of the show will know exactly what I'm talking about.
We've got like 4 examples now of a Toyota sports car just shitting itself on the line with all the marbles.
Wait a minute. Are we counting the Toyota Corolla in 1998 as a sports car?
Yes, we are. Carlos Sainz Sr. broke his foot kicking a door.
That's not a sports car. That's a hot hatch.
I don't know if he broke his foot, but it looked like it with how hard he
might as well have.
He might as well have done. Should we get into Formula 2, fellas?
Oh, the real show.
The main event
was it a show?
I missed it all because it's all on too damn early for us Americans. So y'all take it away.
This race fucked my sleep schedule.
But it was worth the disclosure.
It was carnage. Formula 2 feature race first and foremost. Big title implications early doors on Saturday as Callum Ilott took his 5th pole position of the season. And don't forget, Formula 2 pole position carries 4 points. So the gap immediately went down from 22 to 18 in the fight for the championship
16.
between Mick Schumacher and Callum Ilott. 16, sorry, my bad. Thank you. Thank you guys. It took 4 points out of Mick's title gap immediately. They got to turn 1, and Felipe Drugovich basically said nope, and took the lead pretty much straight away. Those two were locked line astern. Callum Ilott slipped a little bit in the early running. We got to the round of pit stops. Mick was trying an alternate strategy it was a bit confusing to watch because the medium and the hard tires were virtually identical to the naked eye. One of them was white and the other one was basically silver.
Light gray. Why would you do this to us?
Yeah, so we were sitting down thinking, oh shit, Drugovich has got to stop twice, until we're realising on the final lap, oh wait, he was actually on 2 different compounds the whole time, we just didn't realise.
Yep.
An understandable error from one Alex Jakes, because the tyre compounds were basically the same. Look into the naked eye, it was really confusing. But Drugovich retook the lead after the first round of pit stops, didn't look back, and eventually won by 15 seconds in a beating down of the Formula 2 field in the feature race. Drugovich taking his
mega ultra.
Yes, a spanking from Felipe Drugovich to win his first Formula 2 feature race ahead of Callum Ilott, who was second. Mick Schumacher's race was one where he basically had to come back from a poor qualifying. He started 10th. He was basically 5th by turn 3.
Death taxes Mick +5 before turn 1.
The clutch whisperer.
The clutch whisperer. That was the brake whisperer into turn 1.
Oh, yeah. Brave shit from Mick, and very aggressive. Was almost third by the end of the first lap. Couldn't quite get it together in the end. He tried
a little bit of dad in that opening lap. He had his elbows out.
Oh, yeah, big time. And tried a more aggressive strategy running the soft tyre at the end of the race. Trying to claw up through the field and nearly getting a podium, but ran out of tyres, trying to pass Johan Daruvala. And Daruvala was able to hold on to take his first Formula 2
You shall not pass. That was some heavy defending.
Oh, big, about as close to the line of legal defending as you can get from Johan Daruvala, but he did it very, very well. Did his job, took his first Formula 2 podium, so well driven for Johan there for the Red Bull Academy. Drugovich, Ilott, and Daruvala, Mick Schumacher 4th, and Yuki Tsunoda, who has to get an honourable mention, given he went from 22nd to 6th. In the feature race, he was
tear.
He went on a rampage. He was only 2 car lengths behind Nikita Mazepin for 5th, going over the line in a photo finish. Tsunoda drove angry in that feature race, but that also set up in 8th place Robert Schwartzman, who then got pole position for the sprint race on Sunday morning. And let me get this straight. This is a high tyre wear abrasion circuit. Our biggest criticism of Robert Schwartzman has been his poor tyre wear. So, of course, he spanks the field by 6 seconds.
Oh, there's a big asterisk to tyre management.
Well, he got a little bit of help because arguably the biggest title flashpoint of the year took place in the middle portion of that race. As going towards turn 10... There is Ilott and Schumacher are right next to each other on track.
We had what I like to call synchronized locking.
Yes,
everyone going into the corner locked their left front tire up.
Yeah, Schumacher locks up going into turn 10. He's able to catch it. Callum Ilott, in reaction to Schumacher's locks up himself, trying to take an opportunistic move and a dive bomb at turn 10. He loses control of his car, hits past Schumacher, and goes straight into the side pod of Johan Daruvala, taking him out of the race. Callum sunk to the back and then was given a drive-through penalty for his excursions, effectively meaning that he scored no points in the sprint race. Drama, to say the least. But, being honest, relatively unpunished mistake in the end, because Mick struggled a little bit out there in that sprint race.
Yeah, that lockup demolished his front tires.
Yeah, he struggled all the way through. His tires were gone by the end of the race.
In that incident with Ilott, he and Ilott actually did make minor wheel-to-wheel contact, and apparently Mick's steering was not straight after that.
Ooh.
Had Mick not steered out of the corner to avoid it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Not nice. Luckily, everybody got through that okay. But yeah, Callum got a drive-through penalty. He had to sink to the back of the field. He had no chance of scoring points. Charouz in general had a bit of a mixed day because as a result of the carnage, Pedro Piquet passed Mick Schumacher, and by the time we got towards the end of the race, he was running third for his first ever F2 podium until the racing gods were like, "Fuck them kids," and struck his engine down. A lap and a lap and a half from the finish. Pedro Piquet's car dies on him, which opened the door for it was Louis Delatraz, who was running the Charles Leclerc one-stop strategy in a sprint race in Bahrain game, and would finish third behind. Obviously, Robert Schwartzman, who had completely dominated the race at the front, with a little bit of help, of course, from that safety car.
The harder of the compound of tires just didn't wear. So Schwartzman could hot lap all race and had no real negative effect.
That's what he's best at. Schwartzman has got ridiculous speed. He's now the wins leader in the series. That was his 4th Grand Prix win of the year for Schwartzman, and still has an outside chance at the title. I'll talk about the numbers in just a minute. But yes,
outside it's like 4 city blocks away.
Yeah,
but it is outside.
Mathematically, it's doable, and I literally only mathematically, because any reasonable chance gets out of the fucking window. But yes, Schwartzman wins the sprint race ahead of Mazepin, and in second, and Delatraz third. Mick would eventually drop to 7th. He was passed by Christian Lundgaard on the final lap. Brackets, as a Lundgaard fan, screw Renault for giving Juan Yuzo and Fernando Alonso a young driver test spot and not Christian Lundgaard, your number 1 prospect. You idiots. Anyway, Lundgaard was 6th, Mick Schumacher was 7th, so Mick only actually gained 2 points in that despite Callum's substantial mistake. So, in case you've got your calculators out, I'll spare you the trouble. With 2 races to go in the championship, and of course that pole position, which carries another 4 points, Mick Schumacher has a 14-point lead in the championship. He's on 205 to Callum Ilot's 191. And for those guys keeping track of the super license situation at home, Nikita Mazepin now third on 162. He's 43 away. Robert Schwartzman 3 points back on 159. Then Yuki Tsunoda on 157, who barely, by the skin of his teeth, literally can still win the championship via countback because there's 48 points available in this final.
I do have to point out the maximum points given in a sprint race is 17. 15 for the win, plus 2 for fastest lap. Meaning, to be mathematically in contention for the championship after the feature, you have to be within 17 points of Mick Schumacher. That also means Schumacher, all he has to do is outscore Callum Ilott by 3 points in the feature, and the championship is locked up.
Let's go.
Yeah.
He could conceivably do it. He could almost put it out of reach in qualifying alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would certainly help, but Mick's had a pole position all year, so
it would be a real clutch pole.
It's not the winning, it's not the taking part, it's making sure Callum Ilott doesn't get pole.
Indeed. That problem is Callum's had 5 of those this season. He's the fastest man in the field over a single lap.
I would kind of expect it.
Mm-hmm. So I'd say there's a much better chance of Callum taking another 4 into that gap before we even get racing on Saturday. So we'll have to wait and see. But technically, we still have a 5-way title fight decider, although really it's only 2. But for those keeping out on the super license situations with Mazepin, who probably will get it, and Tsunoda might get it, depending on how the scoreboard rolls out. We'll have to wait and see.
Those contracts will look really awkward if Mazepin somehow doesn't end up with the super license.
Oh boy!
Feel like
announce that deal.
Kevin, are you sure you want to go to Chip's team?
Oh, he's definitely sure he wants to go back.
He's definitely sure.
We'll have to wait and see on that one. That will be the Sakhir Grand Prix, the final round of the Formula 2 Championship on Saturday and Sunday. On, of course, the same weekend as the Sakhir Grand Prix in Formula 1. It's going to be a very different sort of Grand Prix with no Lewis Hamilton for the first time in a Grand Prix in 13 years?
Right.
Like, it's going to be quite... Jesus Christ, what a thought that is. But hey, we'll see how George Russell fares. We'll see how Valtteri Bottas shares in a loveless, thankless situation, knowing that you're meant to beat George Russell, but if you don't, you look like a friggin' tool. Good luck with that one, Valtteri.
This really is lose-lose for him. Also, breaking news that dropped during the recording of this episode, Marc Marquez has undergone a third surgery on his right arm. The surgery took 8 hours and was uneventful, but it does put his fitness for the 2021 season into question.
Although a lot of people have said that a third surgery would give him the best chance of being fully fit to start 2021. So it
was confirmed. HRC talked about it in their post that his humerus bone, the bone that he shattered in the opening round of the season, was not healing as quickly as was hoped.
Yeah.
Best of luck to Marc Marquez, of course.
Yes.
Did he fuck his arm up bad that day. Jesus Christ. Don't open any doors in a hurry, please, Mark. God.
Please.
Because, as much as we love MotoGP...
Have Alex walk the dogs.
Please. Honestly, as much as I love MotoGP, with or without you, it's even more fun when you're here. So please, get more soon, Mark. Massive thanks to everyone that's still tuned in. There's still 23 of you guys watching along, and it's 11:15 UK time right now, so thank you. Much appreciated. Everyone in Europe as well, because I know the time zones are not fun. Much appreciated. We are catching up with shows as fast as we can. I know it's a little bit frustrating that we're 3 or 4 down. We've got King in a hamster wheel. I promise he's trying as hard as he can to get them out when they're available. We will.
It's all right. He's still rendering them out on a Pentium 2.
Oh my god!
It happens, I promise you, there's a new computer being built by me. I'm going to have much more of a hands-on approach in 2021, certainly. I will also like to make it a long-term aim to try and record on Mondays or on Wednesdays, so it saves us a couple of days in the production cycle. It's all little things I'm trying to work on.
How would we have caught all of this news?
I know! It's one of those things where, no matter where you drop the day, something funky will happen afterwards. Something big will come out tomorrow now.
Imagine if we had recorded on Monday and Tuesday morning. Oh yeah, by the way, Lewis Hamilton, COVID-19.
No, we'll just be like that dude. We'll just be like that dude from Boston who records emergency podcasts.
Yeah, it happens.
Hey.
Sod that boomer. Anyway, thanks to everyone. Indeed, thanks to everyone that's listened in. Much appreciated. I hope you guys really enjoyed this extended edition, or should we say, back to normal edition. We've been going for an hour 40 at this point, but it was a really great show. Thank you all so much for listening in. Much appreciated. Basically, you can find us one more time real quick. We're right here on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell to get notifications of when our new videos come out. There'll be all sorts of those coming up soon. The Dirty Ian episode is coming up very soon. It's a special intro from one Ryan King. You'll love it, I promise. If you want to get a sneak peek of that, check out our Instagram. I did mention that at the top of the show on Instagram as well, at Motorsport 101 Pod. We're 1 away from 100 followers on Instagram. Could someone do us a favor and just, drop us a follow? Would be nice.
No. You say we're 2 away from 101.
Yes.
And pretty soon,
gotta be on brand.
Pretty soon, we can add that swipe down feature to our stories with enough followers. You can help us get there.
I found out from Jess that you need 10,000 followers to get the swipe up feature.
Yes.
We got
I guess it's time for the Motorsport 101 OnlyFans.
And people said I was crazy to talk about feet in this podcast.
Shut up.
And with that, we bid you adieu. Thank you so much for listening. We love you all, wherever you're listening or watching.
Yeah, well, basically, you can find us one more time. YouTube.com/Motorsport101, Facebook.com/Motorsport101. We're on Twitter at Motorsport_101. Our handles are in the description down below. Also, at Harrison101HD, and RJ O'Connell, and Ryan Eric King, and at C Buckley 917. Direct all complaints to at Bill Simmons. You can also follow us and back us financially on Patreon at patreon.com/Motorsport101. $5 gets you the early access, at least 24 hours early, of all the audio versions of the show. The video versions is available at the $10 tier, as well as the Supporters Club of our Discord server, where you can listen to these shows live as they're being recorded. There's a bunch of you guys are as well in our Discord as we speak. Zoe, Vic, Josette as well, Toki, Jason. Please again tweet Jason if you got any Motorsport 101 award show nominations at Jason_87. Follow him on there. Again, deadline's the 15th. You've got 12 days from the time this recording goes up. Plenty of time. Get him in. Check his Twitter profile for the list of all the pages and all the sending you nominations by all means. Again, all our details as well on the website at motorsport101.com. I've been Dre Harrison. They've been RJ O'Connell, Ryan Eric King, and Cam Buckley. Thank you very much for watching or listening to us. We'll be back next week for the Bar Rhombus. That can only be fun. I'll get the t-shirts made. Until then.
Oh, yeah.
Later, y'all. We'll see you at the Bar Rhombus.
Bye.
Prefer to call it the Bar Rapazoid.
Oh, man.
We're gonna call it the Bar Octagon for 5 heavyweight rounds. If you can understand what possessed me to do this Mike Goldberg voice, you're a better man than me. Corn nuts.
Stop.
Oh, Lord.
1:45:55.
So we are still doing the live recording on YouTube. Yep. So
we are still on YouTube.
Oh, hey, you're still here.
Yeah, we're still on YouTube, so that's the actual show itself. We'll stick around for a few more minutes to stick around. Guys in the Discord, I politely invite you to keep your mics muted for just a little bit longer. Much appreciated. So yeah, we'll be here for a few more minutes if you want to get a couple of questions in. Who knows? Don't worry, Zoe. Thanks for moderating the chat. I've deleted the pinned message myself. The invite was only good for an hour anyway, so it was already expired halfway through the recording.
Yeah, that's right. If you're just joining us, you missed out.
You missed it. Send me a DM on Twitter if you really feel like it, because I'm a generous soul like that.
Don't worry, we won't ask you to send pics.
No, we're not Nikita. God. But no, sincerely, thank you so much for listening in. We've got 100 follower, everybody! Woo!
We did it already.
Made it.
We're one short still, so yeah, get on that 101. But shout out to all you guys for sticking around, much appreciated. I know it's like midnight in Central Europe, so thank you all so much. I know it's not an ideal time still at all, unless you're American. Unfortunately, the show being 3/4 American, what can you do? Don't you fucking start, King, over there, right? Yeah, I'm the only Brit left.
We learned everything from you, Dad.
You're saying Dad for the second youngest man on the podcast. Like, we had to change the bio because we're no longer a bunch of 20-somethings because RJ hit the big 3-0 earlier this year.
That was last year, and I'm going to turn 31 in a couple weeks. What are y'all getting me for my birthday? Ooh. If you said nothing, that's perfectly fine. Ooh. I didn't expect much for my birthday because in these uncertain times...
I'll get you some hair dye. How about that?
The surgery carried out by a team of people whose names I cannot pronounce, so I'm not even going to try. Consisted of the removal of the previous plate and placement of a new plate with the addition of an iliac crest bone graft, and I'm not even going to try to say that word, free flap. Basically, his arm wasn't healing fast enough. They added more bone.
They added more bone.
Yeah, they took some bone from other places in his body and put it in his arm.
Yep.
Oh, it's like a Tommy John surgery.
Shut the fuck up, RJ.
But for bone.
A Tommy John surgery.
Somehow less horrifying. Yeah, and well, this now leaves the door open. Andrea, you want back in at Repsol?
Oh God.
Don't give him ideas. Please don't give him ideas. Please don't give him ideas.
Oh no, we were talking to Vizioso. We were talking about that, Andrea.
No, not the one who pissed hot.
No, not Dirty In. Like I said, that'll be our next episode. That'll be live on Early Access probably tomorrow.
Yeah, it's gonna get uploaded the minute we're done here.
There you go. You know what?
Kelly, I see you in the chat. You take the bone from elsewhere, and that's where I will leave it.
Yes.
We should take this bone and push it somewhere else.
Yeah. Yes. As Kenny points out, how does one get more bone? I mean, that's a great question in the chat there. I'd love to see the humor in that one. Does one get more bone? You know, it's like it's that scene from Brooklyn Nine-Nine all over again where Captain Obvious goes, bone! Shit.
I like what Vincent said. I thought you could 3D print anything.
True. Vince also saying, once you turn 21, you just start having anniversaries.
That's right. I'll be 21 for the 10th time in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
right.
Bless his heart. Yeah, honestly, if you want to get a real quick Q&A question in, you got 5 minutes, so make it count. I think
5 minutes.
I think half past is a adequate time to wrap it up.
You better come with some good questions, some insightful takes, if you will.
Indeed.
It doesn't even
want to get a question. No, it can be about anything else. I do not mind, or I'll keep you. The floor is yours. If anybody mentions Will X comes from again, I will kick them out of the Discord faster than you can say Nottingham should share with Forest.
Nottingham Forest was once part of the Premier League.
Well, they were bad.
Where's Little
I watched the
at?
Highlander. It was shit.
Yeah, David Emmett put it out there saying it was an 11-hour operation.
Damn.
Holy shit. That is not what Honda's saying.
Prediction.
Someone's lying.
Prediction saying that he needs 6 months recovery time.
Will Williams finally score points this season? God, I hope so, but I'm starting to run out of hope.
We only got 2 races left.
I was going to say, that does put his recovery past the start of next season.
It does. You're going into May on paper, maybe early June. Marquez wouldn't be a contender for next season's championship either if he doesn't start a race until May.
Hey, Justin Timberlake, when do you think that Marc Marquez is going to be back on a bike?
Shut the fuck up, RJ.
Someone was going to get out there in the ether before anybody else. I want to be the first one to jump on it.
I will make NASCAR absorb Super GT.
It's already Japanese NASCAR in some respects. It's super silhouette cars that go very fast.
Mm-hmm.
But they got turbochargers, and those are communist.
That's right. It is communist.
Oh dear.
Would Stefan Bradl come back if Mark doesn't come back in time to start the season?
I doubt it. I personally doubt it. I think they would sign. I think they would call up Dovizioso and see if he wants to go on the bike.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
A 1-year deal. Or maybe it's a temporary contract, maybe like a free race deal or something like that. I mean, I'm not sure if Dovi would want to take part at Repsol Honda for just a handful of races before Mark gets healthy, because we all know Paul Espargaro's there next season anyway. So I'm not entirely convinced that Dovi would just hop on for 3 rounds as a wild card.
Just have him on.
David corrected himself. It was 8 hours.
Okay.
My bad.
Yeah, so instead of a 12 hours of Sebring surgery, it is now a 1,000 miles of Sebring surgery.
It's an 8 hours of Bahrain surgery.
Ah, okay.
And he also said, I think we can unequivocally say that Marc Marquez's decision, and it was his decision, to try and race at Jerez 2, just a few days after having his humors plated, was one of the worst choices in recent history. Almost as bad as Andrea Iannone's choice of restaurant.
Yeah.
Savadori or Smith for the Aprilia seat. I
thought it was both.
Whoever wins the Roush Racing Gauntlet show, I feel.
I think Savadori, and the reason why I say that is because if they didn't think Bradley Smith was all that great, you wouldn't replace him with 3 races to go in the first place.
Fair.
So that gives me the impression. I mean, Savadori is on the entry list right now. On what MotoGP revealed about a week and a half ago, David had to come in and say, "Look, this is temporary. There is no guarantee that this is that's going to be what they actually roll with when the season starts," which is what led to a prettier statement regarding their testing situation. But my gut tells me that Savadori's the favourite. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Also, speaking of Emmets, shout out to MotoGP man Gavin Emmett, who became a dad again about 3 days ago. Now maybe go to a lovely baby girl. If anyone doesn't watch PT Sports coverage, Gavin Emmett is one of the very best in the business. So congrats to him and the family. Everybody, she came out a bit early apparently, but thankfully everything fine. So
do you think the FIA could work and work together in some kind of safer barrier that can work for both bikes and F1 cars?
No.
No. Short answer. They're two different problems. I mean, in bikes, there's a more obvious problem. It's the body that's going to get flung off your motorcycle, and no barrier is going to stop that from happening. If anyone remembers MotoGP when Nicky Hayden went over that wall, I think it was at Aragon. That's what happens when a bike hits a barrier at speed. You don't want those problems, to say the least. And so, I honestly, they'd be trying to solve two different sets of problems, and the biking one is a fundamentally much, much bigger problem. Short answer, no. Long answer, hell no.
With bikes, the best thing you can give them is a lot of runoff.
Yeah, as much runoff as you conceivably can. Preferably not gravel because it tends to flip you over, and that tends to lead to more injuries.
I would say gravel's triggered some of the worst injuries in all of motorcycle racing.
Guys, don't let four-wheel racing only Twitter hear this.
Fuck four-wheel racing only Twitter.
Yeah, we're cultured on this Discord server.
We're cultured. We watch great sports like basketball and
Sail GP
and professional darts.
December Madness coming up.
December Madness is back, but nobody can come in costume and nobody can chant like they're at a football match. This is bullshit.
It's a bad idea, but again, if you're on a Discord server, we've got a bracket challenge up for that, so go join. Our friend and yours, Lewis Sotheby's, in there as well.
Should I set up a bracket challenge for the America's Cup Christmas series?
No. Also, shout out as well to the Andrews. Last question before we go, I'll say better MotoGP commentary duo: Gavin and Nick Harris, or Keith Ewan and Neil Hodgson. I would say Emmett and Harris. Harris has been the voice of the
I didn't even have to think about that one. I see Nick Harris and I choose.
Yeah, and look, Ewan is we did hear. You may have seen the news on Twitter that Keith Ewan is actually leaving BT Sport at the end of this season. I think it might be. The way he worded it is that he might be back, but given he's 64 years old and close to retirement age, it's probably the end. I know I've given him a lot of stick on this podcast, but he is a very, very good play-by-play commentator when he's not trying to, shall we say, enjoy the British contingent of bike racing. So shout out to him. If it is the end of his, I wish him a happy retirement, and he's a damn fine commentator. And I wish him the best going forward.
Say, we at Motorsport 101 can roast you for things you do wrong, and also say, we hope things go okay for you.
Yeah, it's like this whole thing coming full circle with Rogro.
Yeah, very much so. He's a fine commentator, and I wish him the best. And
is everyone just going to ignore the fact that RJ just said roast?
I didn't say roast.
Yeah, just like I
said roast.
And then you said this full circle back when we were talking about Rogro.
Oh no!
I didn't even think. We are reviewing our social media policy. If you have any questions, be sure to tag.
I am so happy that instead of being lost to the sands of time in our typical post-show mayhem, that this will live on YouTube forever.
Oh, you better believe this is going on Instagram. Way to go, RJ. Way to go, fellas. Great job. Good job well made and all of that. RJ is going straight to the sin bin for that penalty. We're going to get out of here because it's 11:30 at night here in the UK, and I know it's late for Europe and all that. One more time, thank you all so much for everyone who's tuned in. Much appreciated. You guys, I've said it many a time, the best audience you can possibly ask for. The fact we have 30 of you guys tune in late into the night is a phenomenal effort. So thank you all so much. We'll definitely be doing this again. I actually propose I'd love to do one of these at Christmas time, maybe for the award show at the end of the year, where we will inevitably get into a fight over nominee lists. But they'll definitely be doing this every once in a while, because I know that we kind of have to cut it off with the guys that pay on Patreon, but they don't mind every once in a while if we let a live one slip through the net. But thank you all so much for watching and listening. Again, we're on social media, you know where to find us and all of that. It's all in the comments down below. RJ's on the phone right now, God bless him. But yeah, I think it's a perfect time to wrap this up. So thank you all so much for watching. Again, episode 278, I think it is, will be live and available in early access tomorrow morning. And on the Discord, I'll put the link in pretty much straight away because I'm nice like that. It goes up as soon as we go off the air. It'll be available unlisted. So hey, send it to your friends. Yeah. Just saying. It's unlisted after all. I can't stop you.
Yeah.
You've got fans that want to listen.
Do what you want. If you want people to listen, just share a link. We ain't the cops.
No, we're not going to come after you.
Your dad.
We're not your dad.
Indeed. So definitely. I'm getting out of here before anything else lewd gets mentioned in here. Thank you all so much for watching. From me, RJ, King, and Cam, one more time. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, sayonara.
Bye-bye.